Aaron, Chaz. All right, welcome to the Fade You Pod. 4 idiots. I'm going to be hosting tonight. Name's Joey Cheese. Find me on Twitter at DGen4Life84 or at Joey Cheese. Go around real quick. We'll introduce everyone. We got Chaz here. Chaz, tell everyone how they can find you.
How they can find me?
Yep.
I'm on Twitter. I'm on Twitter, tagged in all the same stuff that you are in the last couple of days. So you can find me on Twitter at Chazzle99, or you're always welcome to find me here on the pod whenever I'm on, man.
Nice. We got a special guest tonight, Aaron Kidd. Aaron, what up, man? Welcome to the pod. Thanks for joining us.
Cheese, thanks for letting me be here, man. Excited to be with you boys and chop it up and hopefully find a winner.
Hey, boy, tell everyone where they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me at AK Sports 90 on Twitter. I'm pretty active on there, and also I'm on another show every Wednesday and Friday on Taproom Sports. So love to have some of you guys on there too, where we chop it up and tend to find some success. So always a good thing.
We're back. Something fucked up. All right, cool. Well, welcome aboard, man. Fade You's grateful to have you on. Just recap real quick last week. My best bet lost. Obviously, I was on Texas Tech. It was absolutely fucking disgusting. Pretty sure Aaron was on that too. I think Chaz was on that with us also.
Oh, yes.
Beat the closing number by 1.5 and just means nothing. Pick six fucking kills us. So best bets didn't do great last week. I know I went 0 for 2 overall. Had a winless weekend on Saturday with no winner. Chaz, how'd you do?
1 and 2. Best bet also lost thanks to stellar play from freshman quarterback Dante Moore at UCLA. I mean, absolutely carved up San Diego State at Snapdragon. I did not see that coming.
Yeah, it was tough. Aaron, how'd you do on Saturday?
Well, boys, if I was to tell you guys that Air Force allowed 81 yards total and possessed the ball for 2/3 of the game, usually they cover 13.5 points. Unfortunately, they didn't. They couldn't punch it in the red zone. And my biggest bet of the week, unfortunately, lost in Air Force. They lost. They won 13-3, but couldn't cover the 13.5 for me. So, shout out to Sam Houston.
College football's officially back.
Yep.
Yep. I saw you tweet about that on, I think it was Sunday or Saturday night, whatever, and I couldn't believe it. I thought it was a joke, but apparently you were dead serious.
Yeah, it was
nice.
That's kind of brutal.
Yeah, it sucks, dude, for sure. All right. Well, I know everyone wants to get out and watch Thursday Night Football, so let's get to it. Real quick, absolute fucking shitty Saturday's card for college football is absolute trash this week.
Not great.
Might be the worst card of the season. Doesn't take much to figure that out by looking at it. But I know the boys got a couple things they want to give out and talk about. So let's start with our guest Aaron. Let's start with Aaron Kidd. What do you got for everyone tonight?
Well, guys, you know what that means. If it's an ugly slate this week, it must be a pretty good slate next week. So potential look ahead spots for a lot of teams. And so that's kind of where I'm jumping in here for a little bit of a breakdown. Western Kentucky is getting 29.5 points on the road at Ohio State. First off, Ohio State's got Notre Dame next week. It's going to be one of the biggest games next week. That's a huge look-ahead spot. I think we can all agree Ohio State hasn't looked like the same team last year. Losing C.J. Stroud, losing a couple other pieces. But I kind of want to talk about their defense. Indiana in the first game ran mostly an option attack against them. They weren't really tested. And Youngstown State held within the number. Youngstown State actually covered against Ohio State last year. Last week, they couldn't punch it in the red zone a couple times. Jim Knowles, their defense coordinator, said himself this week, this is a huge test for them. Western Kentucky is going to spread them out 4 or 5 wide. They're going to run a tempo pace offense. They're going to throw everything imaginable, at them. And where this might not be a big game to Ohio State, I promise you it's a big game to Western Kentucky.
Huge game for Western Kentucky for sure.
Huge. Ohio State's defense got exposed those final 3 games last year through the air. If you guys remember, they kind of got lit up in the last 3 games. Listen, Austin Reed was coveted by a lot of Power 5 schools in the offseason. Western Kentucky's quarterback, for those of you who don't follow, And he's got a chip on his shoulder. He ranks top 20 nationally in most passing categories. And like I said, I think that tempo will give Ohio State some problems. On the other side of the ball, Ohio State's offense has looked less than spectacular, to say the least. They've struggled on third down. They've only been converting about 25% on third down against Youngstown State, Indiana. So kind of like converting third downs against us. They haven't done it at all with playing against us. So they've also had 15 accepted penalties, 19 penalties altogether, 15 which were accepted. Kind of leads me to believe they're not as disciplined as they were last year. And so I think that could hurt them too in a tempo pace offense. And on the bright side of this, if I'm completely wrong, then maybe Ohio State shuts it down in the fourth quarter because they don't want to put a lot on tape against Notre Dame. So either way, I think I've got angles here. And I really like Western Kentucky plus 29.5. There's 29s out there, but you can find 29.5 if you shop it around.
Nice, dude. Like I couldn't look at this game any differently than you did. Like that was like as perfect of a breakdown you possibly could have had. I mean, this Ohio State offense has been anemic this season. Absolutely awful. I got buddies that are actually huge Ohio State fans, and all I hear all the time is wide receiver you and the best playmakers in the country and this and that. I'll tell you what, that game last week, like I wasn't impressed one bit. This team's looked anemic. Like I said, I don't think there's any way to look at this game other than Western Kentucky. So, yeah, I mean, great breakdown, dude. Chaz, any opinion here?
Yeah, I mean, I think the big one is you hit it right there at the end. I mean, this has got backdoor cover written all over it with Notre Dame looming next week. Even if they do look good offensively like the old Ohio State, they're going to pull the foot off the pedal in the fourth quarter. They're not running this thing to the closing bell, man. And Western Kentucky, I mean, they're an up and down the field offense. If anybody can score late, I would say Western Kentucky's in the top 5 or 10 teams in the country that you're looking for a backdoor sloppy cover. So I think you got multiple shots at it.
Yeah, I agree. All right, cool. Chaz, what do you got for a breakdown? And yes, it is.
For me, I'm gonna fade the same team I did last week on my one win. I'm gonna go against Arizona State again. I don't think this team is ready. I don't like the way that they've prepared for the season. I think the administration screwed over a lot of the seniors. All the same things that I laid out last week. But I also think Fresno State is a really underlooked team. So many times I've made a lot of money historically on Fresno State because there's usually some big lines with UCLA and USC. Fresno State's scrappy, man. I think Mike Keene's an underrated quarterback. He looked really good against Purdue. Purdue brought in Harrison Card from Texas in the offseason through the transfer portal, and we're supposed to be a much better roster, especially offensively. They lost at home to Fresno State. I think Fresno State's a pretty good team. They're only laying 3. You can find them I found them at 2.5 earlier in the week. I don't know if that line's going to hang tight, but it's a West Coast team playing a West Coast team. I don't think you're going to lose much with a home field advantage to Arizona State, especially on a team that's not really predicted to do anything. Youngest coach in the FBS. I don't see any tricks up their sleeve. I think Fresno State wins handily.
Yeah. Aaron, any opinion here? I have no opinion on this game whatsoever. I looked at it briefly and just wasn't
same here. It was one of the ones that I looked at and I'm like, I definitely don't believe in Arizona State, so I definitely wouldn't be in a rush to back them. So
sure.
I think he's all over. Fresno State's been a moneymaker. I played on them a good amount of times down the stretch last year once Jake Haener was healthy. And, man, that's not a team you want to go against, that's for sure. So I think you boys kind of nailed it the first game of the season. Was it?
I gave them out. Me and Duke gave them out week 1 versus Purdue. Yep.
Yeah,
so you guys are all over that, man. So, and that's the thing, man. We talk about it all the time, and I don't think you guys do a whole lot of baseball, but I do some baseball, and when you kind of get a beat on a team, you kind of just follow it through, right? I mean, whether you're fading them or playing on them or anything in between. And so I think you guys kind of got Fresno State figured out there. It's a good team, man. They played a tough Eastern Washington team last week too. That's a little deceiving.
They're scrappy, man. Like
Yep.
I get it. They're usually undersized. So when people put them up against UCLA or USC, it's like, oh, their lines are going to get killed. I'm like, I get it, but they usually find a way to be competitive, man. To me, those are the types of teams I like to bet on because I never feel like I'm going to get a lot of quit out of them either.
I agree. Fresno State is definitely a team I'm looking to play on and not against this year for sure.
Yep.
At least as for right now. Let's see. Let's touch on the poop master of Fade U, Mr. Hazmat Suit Duke, can't be with us tonight, but he wanted me to share some of his stuff real quick. So Duke, like, he is on Buffalo. I believe that's plus 3.5.
Yeah.
UTEP, which I'm not sure what the line is there. I'd have to pull up the Wager Talk live screen. Aaron, you want to pull that up real quick?
I can get it here live.
Yeah, or Chaz, thank you. He likes UTEP.
UTEP's getting 17.5 against Arizona is what I've got listed.
Yeah, there's some 18s out there too. Yeah.
See some 18s?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, he should have got here if he wanted to give it out at 18. So we'll give it out at UTEP plus 17.5 for Duke. And his third play is also a spot that I've been looking at all weekend is Illinois plus 14.5.
Oh, man.
It's so absolutely disgusting. It's got Duke's name written all over it.
That's a whole
So pull up Penn State. Who's Penn State? Penn State has someone on deck.
I'll
look.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
That's right. CT Betts' favorite team this year. Yep, that's right. I knew when I looked at it. I didn't have a breakdown on it because I ultimately decided to stay away. But I did realize Illinois had a big game next week. I'm sorry, Penn State had a big game next week, and like Aaron was saying earlier, could potentially be a look-ahead spot for the Nittany Lions.
And I just struggle with Illinois. Like me and CT bet Kansas over 5.5 when CT came on the show that I do a couple months ago, and we just talked ourselves into playing it. On the show, it was kind of wild. It wasn't planned at all. We hadn't talked about Kansas at all before the show, and during the show, we just like fell in love with Jalen Daniels and Neal, and gosh, they returned almost 100% of their offense and defense. No college team does that anymore. So, and I like Toledo too. I almost like Toledo this week too against San Jose State, but Illinois' defense can't stop anybody. The three of us go out there and they couldn't stop.
I'll be the first to admit it. I was on the wrong side of that last week.
They had two great corners last year, and both of them went to the draft, man. I mean, and that's not a place that recruits a lot of football talent. I grew up in Illinois. I've been an Illini fan my whole life. I'm not saying they're not the sharp play, but betting on Illini football is just no way to go through life.
Don't they have the best? They have the best D linemen in the country. They have the top. Yeah, supposed to be number one defensive player.
They always have one or two guys that are great prospects. They just cannot put a roster together.
Yeah. All right. Well, I got one I want to give out. So I haven't tweeted out any of my college or NFL stuff. Talked about some of my NFL stuff a little while ago on Spaces with the Fade U boys, but my first game for the weekend at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. I am going to the Swamp. I am playing Florida plus 6.5, and I am sprinkling on the money line here. It's a Florida team. I mean, it's no secret. Everyone knows. I've seen it all week. They're 9-0. Their last 9 at home versus Tennessee. So throw that spread right out the window. This team knows how to win at home. 330 yards rushing last week. 6 rushing touchdowns. Running backs Montrell Johnson, Trevor Etienne. Like these dudes, like they have a dynamic backfield. I think they can run the ball on this Tennessee team, keep them off the field. Through 2 weeks, Tennessee is running the most plays in college football per minute. They run that high tempo, spread them out quick, no huddle offense. So I think the key to this game for Florida is their offense keeping Tennessee's defense on the field, keeping their offense off the field. I think that's going to be Florida's strength this week. I think they run the ball down Tennessee's throat. Florida should be able to slow this game down. The running attacks, like I just talked about, the double-headed monster. One thing you don't want to do is you don't want to get into a shootout with this Tennessee team. I think they're good enough to score a lot of points quick. So this Russian attack should be number one priority. Should be number one priority for this Florida team this weekend. Florida's run D is great. I mean, they got a good run D. Only gave up 3.4 yards per carry 2 weeks ago to a Utah team who runs the ball down people's throat. Florida secondary is good enough to stop Joe Milton, who isn't like an accurate quarterback. He's not someone I think of when I think of like premier, top tier, college quarterbacks. Milton's name doesn't really come come to mind when I think of that. So and you know what, the one thing I can't look past is this is Tennessee's first road game this year. So you're going on the road to Florida to play in a hostile environment somewhere you haven't played well, over the past like 5-6 seasons. Yeah, this is a spot I'm looking to play on Florida plus 6.5, and I'm sprinkling on the money line. Anyone agree? Anyone disagree? What do you guys think?
I think for me, I've watched Joe Milton play a couple games this year already. The first couple weeks, he's unbelievably talented, but he doesn't seem very polished. So a road game might be rough on somebody like that, where you don't have a lot of incredible accuracy. He can throw a football a country mile, and he's got great legs, big kid, looks like an NFL quarterback, but I think he's also going to make some mistakes. So
Anthony Richardson 2.0.
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, he reminds me a lot, like physically, of like a Cam Newton. Like even when he does throw a ball accurately, it's a fastball. He has no touch. Everything's coming in hot. So those things lead to tips and picks. And maybe he'll show us something this week that I didn't think he had. But realistically, so far, that's their biggest weapon. And if you can keep him from running the football, which Florida has a good run defense, if they can just keep him in the pocket, I don't see him putting up as near as many points as everybody thinks they will through the air.
Yeah, I agree too, man. I live here in Central Virginia. Actually, it's funny that Duke likes Buffalo because, I live 5 minutes from Liberty University. So I'm a season ticket holder at University of Virginia. So I watched every second of that Tennessee game, and that score is actually a little misleading. UVA's defense played tough the first half, actually really the first 2.5 quarters till they got wore down. Milton's not Hendon Hooker. And I think we're starting to see that. And I'm not sure this offense exactly is going to flow the way that it did last year or the way we've come to, kind of know Josh Heupel's offense. So I would definitely be looking to play Florida here if I was looking to play a side.
Nice. Obviously, I respect your guys' opinions, and it's great. I love that you guys would lean my way, if any way. That's great. Anyone else have any other games they want to talk about? I have a best bet. I'm gonna save that for a little bit. See, Chaz, what else you got?
I've got one total that I think is a little weird to me.
It's huge. No one on the show ever gives out totals.
I'm giving out a total. Ever. So Cincinnati started. They were 47. So Cincinnati and Miami, Ohio are playing in Cincinnati this week. It was 47. It's down to 45. I'm going the other way. Cincinnati runs extremely high tempo. The last home game they played was against Eastern Kentucky. They put up 66. The total's only 45. I get it. Miami, Ohio is not exactly an electric offense. I could see Cincinnati getting close to the total themselves. It's not going to take a lot the other direction for them to put up many points. And when you run 70 to 80 plays a game, the likelihood that the clock is stopping more than most of these college games because of incompletions and things like that, I think there's just going to be a ton of plays run. So the more plays run, the more likely the total goes over. I'm going to lean Cincinnati on the over.
That is not a game I thought we were going to touch on tonight.
I know.
Yeah, I love it because in the year and a half I've been doing pods with the boys, I don't recall anyone ever giving out a total. I really don't.
I tend to look at a lot of it, like I said, it's just the system of offense. If you're playing a Chip Kelly back in the day with Oregon, like you almost couldn't set the total high enough. He's going to keep scoring. They're just going to keep running plays. The clock's going to keep stopping. You can run play if you're throwing the ball a lot and you're running up tempo. The likelihood that you can keep it under any number is very low. So, I think the way Cincy plays, Miami, Ohio is not going to be able to slow it down. They're likely going to be behind. So you're going to have to try to score some points. All of that leads to me like the total is going to go over at least 45. It's not exactly a big number. So Cincinnati's got a good defense. It's not like they're giving up a ton of points, but I don't think they need. I think Miami, Ohio scores 10. That's enough.
Aaron, any opinion here? Is this a game you looked at?
Joe, it's funny because I don't play totals either. And I've been doing this about 7.5 years, every day of my life for the last 7.5 years. And I've noticed that the guys that play totals, and they only focus on totals are usually pretty good at it, right? It's the guys that dove into it, didn't do too well, and haven't figured out something that works for you. But it's just what works for you. But totals have never worked for me, whether it be baseball, basketball, football, or street hockey. Just never worked for me. So, no, I agree, man. Usually the guys that are sharp at totals are pretty sharp. But, I have another game that I'll bring up. I won't go diving into it too much. Me and you were messaging a little bit about it before the show. I have not bet this game, but I've been talking myself into it. A lot of people that I respect like the kind of the opposite side that I'm leaning in this game. But Minnesota goes on the Minnesota's got to play North Carolina, right? UNC. There is a lot of people that I respect that like Minnesota in this game. But I kind of look at it like a get-right game for North Carolina. Like, if you don't follow the smaller conferences, the Group 5 conferences like I do, Appalachian State gives North Carolina problems every year. You guys remember the 63-61 game last year, right? And so a lot of people are looking at that game like, wow, North Carolina's kind of struggling against the no-name. No, that's a big rivalry in Boone, North Carolina. So I kind of like North Carolina to get right here against a Minnesota team that has a very good defense. I am not here to dispute that at all. But Minnesota's offense has struggled. We saw what they did against Nebraska week 1, and then they struggled last week too. I think North Carolina could certainly outscore them here in this game. So I definitely lean North Carolina, especially if you can find a 7 out there.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, we talked about this a little bit earlier in the week. It's the only side I'd be looking at here. Every time I bet North Carolina, they lose. When I bet against them, they score 50. They're just one of those teams. Like, I try to stay the fuck away from because I can never get it right with them. I bet against them. Was it opening weekend, week 1, and who'd they blow out? Who'd they blow out earlier in the season? I was on the opposite.
You're talking about Desmond Ritter in South Carolina.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, not Desmond Ritter. Sorry. Spencer Rattler. Yeah.
Spencer Rattler. Yeah. Yep. I was on South Carolina in that game. I leaned Appalachian State this past weekend. I believe North Carolina just fucking blew them the fuck out.
No. Appalachian State played them tough again. Almost
did they?
Just like, but they've done that multiple years in a row. Like, people don't understand how. I live
They're
not
close.
too far from North Carolina at all. Boone, North Carolina, and Chapel Hill is not far away, and I promise you, they don't like each other, right? That's a big game for Appalachian State.
Does anyone remember the 65-63 game or whatever from 2 years ago?
Yes, yeah, and Appalachian State should have beat them.
It was probably like a great. Kids just walk through. I think what is wrong?
God, I'm so sorry.
But yeah, I think this is a get right spot for them. North Carolina's got to go to Pittsburgh next week, but we've kind of seen what a Pittsburgh is, right? And so I don't think they're looking to hit at all. I think North Carolina's ready here to, listen, Minnesota's got a good defense. We knew that coming into the season. I just don't think Minnesota's offense can keep up with North Carolina's offense.
Yeah, I mean, that offense just struggled to move the ball. I mean, they can't move the ball.
Nope.
I think the rules because they all favor offensive players. I think it's silly to try to take a road dog relying on defense. Like, if you're home, I get it. You get the crowd noise. There's just a lot more factors involved. You're going to get some home cooking from the refs, maybe. But on the road, I'm kind of with you. If I was I'm not playing it currently, but if I do, I definitely will look at the UNC side.
Kmart, what up, man? Welcome in.
What up, guys? You sound so good. I was contemplating not joining because I was just like, you guys are killing it. I didn't want to kill the momentum.
Speaking of fucking North Carolina, I'm pretty sure Kmart's in North Carolina right now.
I am. I'm in Asheville, so that's why it's chaotic.
My wife graduated from High Point, so we're right up the road from North Carolina.
Nice. Yeah. No, it's been a lot of fun. Like, where we're at, there's a brewery around every corner, so yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. Kmart, so I gave out, boys, we broke down a couple games. Gave out Duke's 3 best bets in Buffalo, UTEP, and Illinois. Talked about those a little bit. You got something you want to drop for us before I get into my best bet?
Yeah. So, I mean, I actually can't believe for the 3rd week in a row I'm going to be on this team, but the line makes no sense. I'm on Purdue +3 again. And it's just because it makes no sense. Like, I knew you
were going there. I heard
what you guys said at the beginning. Like, this slate it's terrible. So I've just been trying to look at these kind of lower spreads. My other one, and Joe knows, was like, dude, what are you doing? But it's Fresno State -3. And Chase likes it too. I texted him about it a little bit. He doesn't really trust ASU. He made his point last week. But for me, it's more of the overreaction. Everybody's like, oh my God, Fresno State almost lost last week, blah, blah, blah. ASU was up. They look good. But I think that's the team we're going to see is that second half, more times than not, and getting such a low number on what I think is a better team. And at this point in time, a football program and better coaching in Fresno State. I'm usually laying that low number, even if I happen to be on the square side. Like, I'm fine with that.
You just talked about the two teams that were in our big game breakdown from week 1, Purdue, Fresno State.
Right. Yeah. It's kind of, isn't it funny how that kind of worked out?
Yeah.
And I haven't, I'll have to post, but I am, kids going nuts over here. My third one that I am trying to get on is Mississippi State against LSU. And it's gone down to 9.5. It just seems like a lot. Like, everyone is on LSU. They had their mix up with, Joey, the best team in the NCAA, your Seminoles, but
goddamn right.
And at LSU, I don't even remember who they played. They had their cupcake last week. Now everyone's back on the LSU train, but it's conference play now, and 10's a lot on the road. Like, I don't know why I haven't pulled the trigger yet. I think I'm just trying to really limit myself because I don't love this slate, and I know somehow after talking with you guys, I'm just gonna probably all of a sudden have 10 bets again. So I'm really trying to limit my risk for once. But, as I'm just kind of talking, even though I'm talking nonsense right now, I'm just like, why have I not bet this yet? Like, it's 10 points in a
Sounds like a
conference
good
game
time
at
to put it
home.
in.
Like, yeah. I don't know. Do you guys have any angles on that game?
No, but real quick, just for reference, I appreciate the Florida State shout out because as I did with UConn in college basketball, I have been screaming Florida State is the best team in the country and gave out every single future you possibly think of, from their running back, quarterback, team total over. Tell Clara to calm it down. We're live.
Hey, we're live, Clara.
I gave out every single Florida State game you could possibly think of.
I do have to correct you, though. When Chase was giving out his over, you forgot that Duke gave out USC under in week 1.
Right, I did forget about that. I did forget
not
about
the first.
Yeah, but this is probably the first over on the show ever.
I normally like unders, but this one just seems like this thing's like a track meet waiting to happen, to be honest.
Yeah, no, and I think you mentioned it to me a couple days ago when it was 47, maybe.
It was like 47, and it's gone down.
Yeah. So hey, if Duke were here, snap call. So I like it. I like it.
He loves all that garbage.
Yeah, and Chase is my tools guy.
I've done okay this season so far. We'll see if we can keep it going.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
thanks for your UConn Huskies, by the way, Joey. They were really good to us.
Yeah, for sure. So I have a best bet.
Really good to us.
Yeah. So I have a best bet. I've been dying to give out. I haven't posted it yet, so this will be the first time I'm giving out this week. But I am on the motherfucking UConn Huskies, baby. I know this ain't college basketball season; it's NCAA football, but this is a team that I had high expectations for coming into this season. They've started out rough. They're 0-2. Offense has looked absolutely fucking garbage. They've lost to teams they shouldn't be losing to. So yeah, I'll be giving out UConn at -7. I also played it earlier in the week when it was -8. There are 7s out there now. But yeah, last week, this is a team that rushed 31 times for 50 yards. The running game was just nowhere to be found. It reflects in the scorecard. I couldn't believe it when I was looking at the stats. And I mean, who runs the ball 31 times for 50 yards? I feel like I can average 2 yards per rush in college football. I really do.
I've given up after 21 tries.
Yeah. Like I couldn't believe it. And like this is a UConn team that still hung in. Like they almost won the game. Even with the stat card looking like a giant pile of shit. UConn's running back Victor Rosa, 10 rushes for 17 yards, 1.7 average. I mean, the kid's better than that. In the opener versus a very stout NC State team, he averaged 10 yards per rush. This is a kid who I think could open it up this week in what people are talking about could be a Hurricane Bowl. I mean, those of you that know, I live in Massachusetts, right outside Boston, but they play in East Hartford, Connecticut, and there is a scheduled hurricane to hit about 50 miles offshore this weekend. Saturday, they're talking high winds, lots of rain. This could be a game where UConn runs the ball 40 times. FIU gives up 4.7 yards per rush, 183 a game. If UConn is going to keep the ball on the ground, this is a spot where I think UConn could get right. I have them here at minus 10.5 is like where my numbers put them. So at -7, I feel like I was getting a bargain. UConn lost their starting quarterback. And no, I'm not making this up. His last name is Fagnano. Week 1. And Taquan Robinson came in. And I mean, the kid looked all right last week. I mean, I like him at the helm here better than Fagnano, to be honest with you. This is a UConn team I fully expect to get back on track. I like them to win this game 31-10. So, yeah.
So we're outlining this.
I have no input because I haven't looked at the game. So I will boldly just follow.
My man.
Yeah, I mean, how can we not follow? I mean, he's a UConn star.
I mean, it sounds good.
It sounds great.
And I think you're getting a discount. The reason why that line is the way it is because of what FIU's done the first 2 games, right? They covered against Louisiana Tech, and everybody loved Louisiana Tech coming into the season, So, and then you know what they did last week. So, you're getting that discount. So, yeah, I agree, man. I think that line, if we're guessing before the season, is -12, right? 13 maybe.
Yeah,
so
the look ahead line here.
Discount.
The look-ahead line here was 10.5. I mean,
yep, there you go.
I thought I was getting a discount when I bet it Monday morning at -8, and the FIU money just kept piling in Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I'm like, what the fuck is happening here? Finally, like that number dropped to 7, and I added more to it. I was like, fuck, they're giving me even a better number. I like them up to -10.5 here. I'd be a fool not to take 7.
And the other thing with that too is, Joey, is when you hear about the rain and the hurricanes and the bad storms, everybody wants to always bet the under, right? There's a long time thing that actually defenses struggle more because they don't know what's coming, right? So
for sure,
I think that correlates there too. So no, I'm all there with you.
Nice. All right, cool. Well, listen, guys, thanks a lot for tuning in. Kmart, thanks for joining us on your little vacation. Aaron, always a pleasure, man. You can find him on Twitter at Aaron Kidd. Check him out tonight on his show. Chaz, always a pleasure. Giving out fucking totals. We love you for that,
man.
We love you for that. But yeah, check out our recap. Go back, check it out on YouTube and on our Twitter pages at FadeU. And thanks for having us, guys. See you guys next week.
Good job. Let's go.
Guys, thanks for having me.
Of course, anytime.